these are some of the use cases. So very typical for sales, prospecting, lead generation, competitive analysis, refinement. We're really focusing on outside and inside reps, so people who have 30 to 50% of their revenue. So let me jump on the keyboard. And what we like to do is then walk through, a case study, and we're back and forth in different case studies. This particular case study, you are an outside sales executive selling consulting for $500,000 for medium, large size companies for AI projects. You have some support, but not a lot, and deals count, and therefore productivity and closing counts. And then we walk through prompts, and and usually I just cut and paste just to save time. And I'm doing that, but here's an example of, what are the top 5 business challenges for an SVP? So oftentimes, sales executives need to talk about pain language. And when you're walking in different titles in different industries, they are different. And if you haven't really sold into insurance companies before, and you have a meeting with an SVP of AI, here's 5 challenges. Again, these are what our interns are coming up with, so you got to have at least a human in the loop, but it's something to start getting forward at. Have you thought about the regulatory compliance and ethical considerations? Have you thought about the talent needs of your particular prospect? And these are in general, and then you can, if you're selling technology, you can actually get, more specific. What are the top business challenges related to technology for this SVP of AI? Many times, certainly what I've seen, the sales reps go in with their product. They know what the product solves. But oftentimes, if you can start with the full universe of the customer problem set and then pull back or get your problem identification within theirs, and this is one good way to start thinking. It's also really good for product marketing and sales support people to start building some of those industry charts that have pains by title. MEDDIC is a sales methodology that there's one of the many out there, and it's great for creating that. So you're an expert in sales strategy. MEDDIC is a sales methodology. Create a list of questions for an SVP at AI at a Fortune 500 insurance company here. And for people who have created this, may take you 30 minutes, an hour and a half, if you don't know the industry. And boom, now you've got a starter kit. It's showing you at least what the robots are thinking as a starting point on KPIs, asking who the economic buyer is, who's signing it, what the decision criteria is, what the process is, thinking through the pain and the champion. So just a good way to kind of put some more of that methodology that's customer specific, industry specific, or title specific into that sales cycle. Spin consulting, spin selling is another one. This one is I think I forget what spin stands for. Situation. Oh yes, right. Situation, problem, identification, implication, and need. And again, what's a spin selling analysis for 500,000 consulting services sold for Gen AI strategy and project prioritization for a large insurance company? And this is walking through, triggering some things, being more comprehensive for that sales rep, maybe jiggling some ideas and how to actually have a much more effective conversation in person, online, or digitally. Just do a few other examples. I think most people have seen tables and competitive analysis here. If you haven't, I'll do it quickly. Who are the leading consulting companies helping SVPs of AI with strategy and project implementation in the United States here? And if you haven't seen it, and Perplexity will probably do a better job even on this, it'll come back and, at least name what it thinks are the biggest competitors. And if you haven't used it, tables are fabulous in this tool. So, show results in a table. And as we've talked, and I'll show the results from the above or in the table here, but we've talked again and again, is that we want to not underestimate the cognitive ability of our robots, push our interns to do more. So let's add a column for biggest competitive differentiation, something that's more than just searching on the internet. So we want our robots to actually look at this and come back with a point of view. Actually, this is something that doesn't pop up. People are starting to show, this is a new feature that Custom GPT is doing. They're actually showing multiple, but here on the left, I'll just keep it left and simple here. You got, McKinsey, biggest competitive differentiation, how it differentiates from Bain. Yeah, RJ, thanks for raising your hand. Go ahead, RJ.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So you just said earlier, a few sentences ago, that you wanted to get the people to understand the cognitive capabilities of these LLMs. But what I'm wondering is, do you ever let them listen to the LLMs and then have a conversation with them by putting it into the audio mode? Because the reason I say that is the more and more I use pi.ai, I am just blown away by how it's able to carry on a rational, complicated discussion and give really good answers to very specific, important, pertinent questions that I'm involved with. So I just was going to bring that up as, if you haven't tried it yet, I think that will convince your audience perhaps a lot more than just showing an LLM spitting out information in text form.
It's a great point, Roger. Roger, we haven't done that because it's mostly beginners, and that would involve anyway. Sometimes downloading the app, but I totally agree. It is very powerful. And people haven't done it at least the way I do. Roger, tell me if you. I download the app and use it on my phone, where I actually use voice in, hear voice out, and really is. It does very much feel like conversational, particularly if you're driving, and it's almost like a person next to you. So that's so competitive analysis. That's we'll do a few more here, showing a table. Oh, this is another one that's important. A lot of times, at least certainly junior reps will walk into and not think enough about who is in that room. And here's a great way to get value proposition by title. So your enterprise rep selling a $500,000 strategy project, list the value proposition or selling proposition of this project for each of these roles. And again, this is a little longer, and the more specific you can be in your prompts, the better it's going to be. So put more specific, don't put confidential information, but put more specific things about what you're trying to convey. In terms of very friendly, certainly. And starts walking through. Here's key messages for the CEO. Maybe they're on the right. The CFO, maybe he's down the end of the table here. Don't strategic advantages, look at the CEO. Cost savings, look at the CFO. Digital and everything else. And I found this really also helps when you're going particularly larger deals, thinking through, have we thought through all these objections? What's the biggest objection the security officer is going to have? What's the biggest objection the CTO is going to have? And how can we overcome that? Just a few more minutes. Prospect, I just go shoot two more. Prospecting, let's do follow-up. Custom, we've seen a lot more emails here, but here's one is using humor to get conversations started here. So if you create a compelling subject line for SVP of AI on your value proposition, let's see, send this out, and 2-3 days later they haven't followed up on, what do you do? Do you just keep sending the same thing? Are you there? Are you there? One potential approach is to use a follow-up email with humor in it. And ChatGPT and these tools are fantastic for humor. Create a short follow-up email to this email above that includes humor in the subject line. Let's make AI strategy less artificial. Maybe that's a little cheesy, but you kind of get a sense for it. One of the training things we had for one of the large companies, the person who attended was a SOX compliance officer. And his biggest problem was he has to send all these data requests to people for SOX compliance, and like nobody ever replies. And we said, well, let's use some humor for that. And we came up with 10 or 15 very creative subject lines that he really thought would kind of break the ice, stand out in someone's inbox, and at least uh, unplug some of the sludge in some of these sales cycles here. And the last one is I want to show you is presenting by kind of psychological personality type here. So this is an example of describe the approach of a $500,000 AI consulting project for strategy and project prioritization to an executive who's visionary and likes to understand the big picture first. And this could be an outline of an email or an outline of your PowerPoint presentation. So it talks about strategy, capability assessment, and it kind of tumbles down to the prioritization here. You may have a meeting later in the week or the day with the exact same project, but now you're talking to a very different executive. Now you're talking to an executive or a decision maker who is very concerned, who's very implementation oriented and likes detailed plans and risk. It's the same project. It's the same product. The exact same thing is going to be delivered here. You're just using the robots to articulate the value proposition differently. And we saw the CEO one earlier. And this one's a little more detailed. It's really interesting. I did this one earlier today. It actually